The Life We Shared. Part 1. The Reunion. Emma stood outside her old high school, her heart racing with a mix of excitement and nervousness. It had been years since she'd last set foot here, and everything seemed different, yet oddly familiar. She looked around at the groups of people gathered, all old friends catching up, laughing and sharing memories. She wondered if anyone still remembered her and, even more so, if she would see him again. Liam, her childhood best friend and first love. Back in high school, Emma and Liam had been inseparable. They had grown up on the same street, and from the moment they met, they'd been best friends. As they grew older, their bond deepened, and it felt as though their friendship might one day turn into something more. But life had taken them down different paths, and they lost touch after school. Now, all these years later, she was back, hoping to reconnect and maybe, just maybe, get some answers about why they drifted apart. Emma took a deep breath and stepped into the old gymnasium, where the reunion was being held. She was surrounded by familiar faces, and everyone seemed eager to catch up and share stories about their lives. Just as she was getting comfortable, she saw him, Liam, across the room, talking with a group of friends. He looked older, of course, but his warm smile and gentle eyes were the same. Liam noticed her at the same time, and they exchanged a hesitant smile from across the room. It felt like a lifetime since they'd last seen each other. And now they were here, standing in the same place they'd shared so many memories. Slowly, he made his way over to her, and Emma felt her heart pound harder with each step he took. "Emma," Liam said, his voice soft but full of warmth. "I can't believe it's really you." "Hi, Liam," she replied, feeling a mixture of joy and awkwardness. "It's been a long time." They spent the next few minutes catching up on simple things, where they lived, what they did for work, and the basic updates people give after years apart. But as they talked, Emma felt a weight on her heart. There was so much unsaid between them, things she had wanted to say years ago but never had the chance. She wondered if he felt the same way. After a while, they decided to step outside to get some air, away from the noise of the reunion. The evening was calm, and a light breeze made the air cool. They found a bench near the school's garden and sat down side by side, both feeling the tension of words left unspoken. "I never thought I'd see you again," Emma finally said, looking down at her hands. "There were so many times I wanted to reach out, but I didn't know if you'd even remember me." Liam looked at her, surprised. "Emma, you were never just someone I'd forget. I thought about you all the time, but things happened." He paused, looking away as if gathering his thoughts. "After high school, I went through some things. I thought I was in love with someone else, but it didn't turn out the way I'd hoped. I guess I got a little lost." Emma nodded, feeling a pang in her heart. She had her own story, too, one of heartbreak and lost dreams. "I know what you mean," she replied softly. I had someone too. I thought he was the one, but it didn't work out. Sometimes, I wonder if I should have fought harder for us, but maybe I was too scared." Liam reached out, gently placing a hand on hers. "I think we both went through a lot, Emma." I always wondered what would have happened if we hadn't drifted apart. They sat in silence for a moment, both lost in thoughts of the past. Being here with him felt both comforting and painful. Emma realized that they had both been carrying the weight of their pasts, unable to fully let go. But now, here they were, facing each other and all the memories they shared. As the evening stretched on, they talked more about their lives, their families, and the dreams they once had. Slowly, the walls between them began to fall away, and they laughed about old times, silly memories, and childhood secrets. By the time the night ended, Emma felt a strange mix of emotions. She was happy to see him again, yet a part of her was afraid. She knew that reconnecting with him might bring back feelings she thought were buried. And deep down, she wondered if this reunion was the beginning of something new or just a reminder of what they had lost. As they said goodbye for the night, Liam looked at her with a serious expression. "Emma, I'd like to see you again. There's so much more I want to talk about. Things I should have said a long time ago." Emma smiled, feeling the same way. "I'd like that too, Liam." With that, they went their separate ways, each of them carrying a piece of the past, and perhaps a small spark of hope for what the future might hold. The night felt like a fresh beginning, a chance to rewrite the story they had left unfinished. But both Emma and Liam knew that facing the past would not be easy. They would need to be honest about the pain they had carried and decide if they were ready to let it go, together or apart. Part 2. Old Wounds. The next day, Emma found herself thinking about Liam. She had hoped to see him at the reunion, but she hadn't expected to feel so many emotions rushing back. Seeing him had opened doors she thought were closed, and she was left wondering if they were ready to face what had kept them apart. In the afternoon, her phone rang. She looked at the screen and saw Liam's name. Her heart skipped a beat. With a deep breath, she answered, trying to sound casual. "Hi, Liam," she said, her voice a bit shaky. "Hey, Emma," he replied warmly. "I was wondering, would you like to meet up for coffee? I feel like there's still so much to talk about." Emma felt a mixture of excitement and nerves. "I'd like that," she said. "Where should we meet?" They decided on a small cafe in town, a cozy place they used to visit together as teenagers. When Emma arrived, she saw Liam sitting by the window, looking out. His face softened when he saw her, and he stood up, giving her a warm smile. "Hi," he said as she sat down across from him. "It's nice to see you again." Emma returned the smile. "It's nice to see you too, Liam. This place hasn't changed much, has it?" "No, it hasn't," he agreed, looking around. "It's like stepping back in time." For a moment, they sat in comfortable silence, sipping their coffee and watching the world go by outside. Then, Liam looked at her, his face serious. "Emma," he began, "I've been thinking about us, about why we lost touch. I feel like I owe you an explanation." She looked at him, feeling a mix of curiosity and apprehension. "I've always wondered," she said softly. "I thought maybe you just didn't care anymore." Liam shook his head quickly. "No, it wasn't that. I cared, Emma. I still do." He paused, looking down at his coffee. After high school, I got involved with someone, Sarah. I thought she was everything I wanted, but I was wrong. The relationship was difficult. I got hurt in ways I didn't expect. It left me feeling broken, and I didn't know how to talk to you about it. Emma listened, feeling a pang of empathy. She could see the pain in his eyes and felt her own memories surfacing. I understand, Liam. I went through something similar. I was with someone too, Mark. He was charming, kind, until he wasn't. When things went wrong, I felt like it was my fault, like I wasn't enough. Liam looked at her with deep sympathy. Emma, I'm sorry. I had no idea. You always seemed so strong. She smiled sadly. We both put on brave faces, didn't we? They fell silent again, both lost in memories of their past relationships and the heartbreak they'd endured. Emma could feel the weight of all those years pressing on her, but sharing it with Liam made it feel lighter. For the first time, she realized that he had suffered too, and maybe that was why they had drifted apart. They were both wounded, unsure of how to trust again. Liam broke the silence. I think a part of me always wished I could talk to you, but I was afraid. I thought you had moved on, that maybe you'd found someone better. Emma shook her head. I tried to move on. I thought I was happy, but there was always something missing. I think a part of me never stopped thinking about you, even when I was with Mark. But I didn't want to reach out and find out that you didn't feel the same way. Liam reached across the table, gently taking her hand in his. His touch was warm and comforting, just as it had been all those years ago. Emma, I've thought about you so many times. I've missed you. But I was scared that if we tried again, I'd only hurt you. She looked into his eyes, seeing the same warmth and kindness she had known as a teenager. Maybe we were both scared. Maybe that's why we kept running from each other. They stayed like that for a while, holding hands, both lost in thoughts of what could have been. Slowly, Emma began to feel a sense of peace, as though finally sharing her story with him was helping to heal the wounds she had carried for so long. Liam took a deep breath. Emma, do you think we could ever have a second chance? Or is it too late for us? Emma's heart skipped a beat. She had dreamed of hearing these words for so long, but now that he was asking, she wasn't sure what to say. I don't know, Liam. I'm scared. We're not the same people we were back then. We've both changed. He nodded, understanding. I know. But maybe that's okay. Maybe the people we've become are exactly who we need to be. She thought about his words, letting them sink in. Maybe you're right, but we'd have to take it slow. I don't want to rush into anything and end up hurting each other again. He smiled, a soft and hopeful smile. I'd like that. I'd like to take it slow. Just being with you, even like this. It feels like coming home. Emma smiled back, feeling a warmth in her chest. For the first time in years, she felt a spark of hope. Maybe they could rebuild something together. something even stronger than what they had before. As they finished their coffee and walked out of the cafe, Emma felt the weight of her past start to lift. She knew they had a long way to go, and there would be many more conversations and painful memories to face. But walking beside Liam, she felt ready to try. They said goodbye with a promise to meet again soon, each of them feeling a quiet excitement about the future. It wasn't a perfect answer, but it was a beginning. A new chapter in a story they had left unfinished. As Emma walked back to her car, she looked up at the sky, feeling a sense of peace she hadn't felt in a long time. She knew there would be challenges ahead, but for now, just knowing that Liam was there, ready to face the past with her, made her feel like she could handle whatever came next. And maybe, just maybe, this time they would get it right. Part 3. Opening Old Wounds. Over the next few weeks, Emma and Liam began meeting regularly. They spent hours talking about everything: work, family, their dreams, and even their regrets. Each conversation felt like a step closer to healing, a way of repairing the connection they'd lost. But as they grew closer, Emma knew there were things they hadn't fully shared, especially the painful parts of their pasts. They had both been hurt deeply, and these wounds hadn't fully healed. One evening, they decided to take a walk in the park near Emma's home. The sun was setting, casting a soft glow over the trees and the winding paths. It was quiet, with only a few people strolling by, and the gentle sounds of nature made it easy for them to talk. As they walked, Emma decided to ask Liam a question that had been on her mind since they'd reconnected. "Liam," she said softly, "do you ever think about what could have happened between us if things had been different?" Liam was quiet for a moment, looking down at the ground as they walked. "I think about it a lot, Emma, more than I like to admit. I always thought we'd end up together. But I guess life had other plans." Emma nodded, feeling a twinge of sadness. She had often wondered the same thing, but there was something more she needed to know. "Liam, what happened with Sarah? You've mentioned her before, but you've never told me the full story." Liam sighed, and Emma could see the pain in his expression. He took a deep breath before he began to speak, as if gathering the courage to face a memory he had long buried. "Sarah was, well, she was different from anyone I'd ever met," he began. "At first, everything felt perfect. I thought I was in love, that she was the one I'd been waiting for. But over time, things changed. She became controlling. She wanted to know where I was all the time, who I was with, even if it was just friends or family. She didn't trust me, and no matter what I did, it was never enough." Emma listened, feeling a mixture of sadness and anger on his behalf. "That sounds terrible, Liam. I can't imagine how hard that must have been for you." Liam nodded. "It was, but I kept telling myself that if I tried harder, maybe things would get better. I didn't want to give up on her, so I ignored the signs, even when I knew deep down that it wasn't right. I thought if I could just prove my love, she would change." Emma could hear the hurt in his voice, and she reached out, gently touching his arm. "You don't have to feel guilty for trying Liam, you loved her, and you did what you thought was best. But love isn't supposed to hurt like that. He gave her a grateful look. I know that now. But back then, I didn't see it. I lost myself in that relationship, Emma. By the time it ended, I didn't even know who I was anymore. It took me years to rebuild myself, to trust again. Emma could feel the weight of his words. She realized that Liam had gone through his own battles, and those scars were still with him. She wanted to say something comforting, but before she could, Liam turned to her with a serious look in his eyes. "What about you, Emma?" he asked gently. "You told me a little about Mark, but I feel like there's more. I want to understand what you went through." Emma hesitated, feeling her own painful memories begin to surface. She had never fully shared this part of her life with anyone. But looking at Liam, she felt safe, as though she could finally let go of the burden she'd been carrying. "Mark was charming when we first met," she began, her voice soft. "He made me feel special, like I was the only one who mattered. But as time went on, he changed. He started getting angry over small things. He didn't like it when I spent time with my friends or family, and he made me feel guilty for wanting to do things on my own." She paused, her voice breaking slightly. "He would say things to make me doubt myself, make me feel like I wasn't good enough. I started to believe him. I thought maybe if I tried harder like you did, he would be kinder, more loving. But it only got worse." Liam looked at her, his face full of empathy. "Emma, I'm so sorry. You didn't deserve that." She gave him a small, sad smile. "I know that now. But back then, I thought it was my fault. I stayed with him for a long time, hoping things would change. But eventually, I realized that he wasn't going to change, and that if I didn't leave, I would lose myself completely." They continued walking in silence, each of them lost in thoughts of their pasts. Finally, Emma took a deep breath, feeling a weight lift off her chest. Sharing her story with Liam felt like taking a step toward healing, as though she was finally letting go of the pain she had been carrying alone. Liam spoke up after a while. "You know, Emma, I think that's part of why we lost touch. We both went through these painful relationships, and we didn't know how to open up to each other about it. We were both hurting and didn't want to burden each other." Emma nodded. "I think you're right. It's hard to let someone in when you're hurting. But I'm glad we're here now, talking about it. Feels freeing." They reached a small bench by the pond and sat down, watching the gentle ripples on the water. For a long time, they just sat in silence, letting the peace of the moment sink in. Emma felt a sense of calm she hadn't felt in years, as though sharing her story had finally allowed her to breathe again. Liam took her hand, and she felt a warmth spread through her. "Emma, I don't know what the future holds for us, but I do know that I want to be there for you, to help you heal, just like you're helping me. I want us to rebuild what we lost, even if it takes time." Emma looked at him, her heart full of gratitude. "I want that too, Liam. I think maybe we needed to go through all of this to understand each other better. Maybe this is our chance to start fresh." without all the pain holding us back. They sat there, holding hands as the sun dipped below the horizon. The park grew quiet, with only the sound of leaves rustling in the breeze. Emma felt a sense of hope, a quiet belief that they were finally ready to face the future together, unburdened by the past. As they walked back to their cars, Emma felt lighter than she had in years. She knew there would still be challenges ahead, but for the first time, she believed they could face them together. With Liam by her side, she felt ready to let go of her old wounds and look toward a brighter future. They parted with a hug, each of them feeling the warmth of the other's presence. It wasn't a promise, but it was a beginning, a step toward healing, toward building something new. And as Emma drove home that night, she found herself smiling, hopeful for what lay ahead. Part 4. Rediscovering Friendship. In the days that followed, Emma and Liam grew closer, finding comfort in each other's company. They had talked about their pasts and shared their pain, but now it was time to remember the friendship they'd once had. They realized that before anything else, they had been best friends. Rebuilding that friendship became their focus, allowing them to reconnect on a deeper level. One Sunday, Liam invited Emma to go on a short road trip. He'd planned to take her to a small town just a few hours away, a place they had talked about visiting when they were younger but had never gotten the chance. The drive was relaxed and peaceful. As they sped down quiet country roads, the air was filled with laughter and music. Liam had created a playlist of songs they used to listen to, bringing back memories of simpler times. Emma felt herself loosening up, laughing freely, just as she had when they were younger. After a couple of hours, they reached the town. It was a charming, quiet place with small shops, cozy cafes, and colorful buildings that gave it a lively character. They parked the car and strolled through the town, exploring little bookshops, quirky stores, and art galleries. Every corner of the town seemed to have something special to offer, and Emma felt as though they were stepping into another world, a world free of their past worries and heartaches. They stopped for lunch at a small, family-owned restaurant. Sitting outside under a large, shady tree, they watched people pass by as they ate. It felt like a tiny adventure, away from the busy city and the pressures of everyday life. It was just the two of them, enjoying each other's company without a single care in the world. After lunch, Liam suggested they visit a nearby lake he had read about. It was a short drive from town, and when they arrived, they found themselves in a peaceful, secluded spot. The lake was surrounded by trees, and the water was calm, reflecting the blue sky and fluffy white clouds. There was a small wooden pier that stretched out over the water, inviting them to sit and relax. They sat on the pier, their feet dangling just above the water, watching as tiny ripples spread across the lake. It was quiet, with only the gentle sound of the water lapping against the shore and the occasional chirping of birds. "I'm glad we did this," Emma said, breaking the comfortable silence. "It's nice to just be. No worries, no stress." Liam nodded, smiling. "Yeah. Feels like we're stepping back in time, doesn't it? Like we're those carefree kids again." Emma chuckled. except we're older, wiser, and have a few more scars. True, Liam replied, but I think those scars make us who we are. We've both been through a lot, and maybe that's why we can appreciate this moment even more. Emma looked at him, feeling a warmth she couldn't quite explain. She had always cared for Liam, but this was different. She felt safe with him, understood in a way she hadn't been in a long time. They didn't need to pretend or hide anything from each other. They had seen each other at their worst, and yet here they were, finding joy in each other's company again. As the sun began to set, casting a warm orange glow over the lake, Liam took a deep breath and spoke, his voice quiet but serious. Emma, I've been thinking a lot about us, about what we used to have and what we could have had if things had gone differently. And honestly, I'm scared to even think about it. I don't want to lose you again. Emma felt her heart beat a little faster. She looked at him, trying to find the right words. Liam, I feel the same way. Being with you, it just feels right. But I'm scared too. We've both been hurt, and I don't want us to ruin what we have. They sat in silence, both lost in their thoughts. It was a big step, thinking about a future together. They had only just reconnected, but the feelings were real, and they both knew it. Finally, Emma spoke. Maybe we don't need to rush. Let's just take it slow. Let's keep rebuilding what we lost. If it's meant to be, it'll happen naturally. Liam nodded, a look of relief on his face. I like that idea. No pressure, no expectations. Just us, taking things one step at a time. They stayed by the lake until the stars began to appear in the sky. It was a peaceful night, and they found comfort in the silence, sitting side by side under the vast, star-filled sky. There was something beautiful about being together like this, without the need for words. On the drive back, Emma felt a deep sense of contentment. She realized that she didn't need to rush into anything. The connection they were building now felt stronger, more genuine than anything they had before. It wasn't about reliving the past. It was about creating something new, something that could last. When they arrived back at her home, Liam walked her to the door. They stood there for a moment, the air between them filled with unspoken words. Finally, he gave her a warm hug, and she hugged him back, feeling a sense of belonging she hadn't felt in years. As Liam drove away, Emma watched his car disappear down the street, a soft smile on her face. She knew they had a long journey ahead of them, but for the first time, she felt truly hopeful. They were giving themselves a second chance, but this time they were doing it with open hearts and clear minds. Emma went inside, feeling a quiet happiness settle over her. She didn't know where this path would lead, but she was willing to find out. Taking things one day at a time, she and Liam were finally discovering what it meant to love, trust, and be there for each other. It was a new beginning, one built on friendship, understanding, and a shared history that bound them together in ways only they could understand. As she lay in bed that night, Emma felt a sense of peace wash over her. She had found her way back to Liam, and she knew in her heart that they were both ready to face whatever came next, together. Part 5. Testing the waters. Over the following weeks, Emma and Liam continued to spend time together, keeping things slow and easy. They shared dinners, watched old movies, went for long walks, and spent hours talking about life, dreams, and everything they had missed while they were apart. The more time Emma spent with Liam, the more she felt the walls around her heart begin to crumble. With him, she could be herself without any fears or doubts, something she hadn't felt in a long time. One chilly afternoon, Liam invited Emma to a little coffee shop they had both loved during high school. It was hidden away in a small alley and hadn't changed much over the years. The old wooden chairs, the smell of freshly brewed coffee, and the walls decorated with photos of past customers gave the place a cozy, nostalgic charm. They sat at a corner table by the window, sipping hot chocolate and watching people pass by outside. The cafe was nearly empty, making it feel like they had the place all to themselves. After a comfortable silence, Liam spoke, his voice thoughtful. "Emma, do you ever wonder how things might have been if we hadn't drifted apart all those years ago?" Emma looked down, tracing patterns on her mug with her fingers. "I do, sometimes. I wonder if we would have made it, if we'd have been able to build a life together back then." Liam nodded, looking distant. "I think about that too. But then I realize, maybe we weren't ready. Maybe we needed to go through all that pain and those experiences to appreciate what we have now." Emma thought about this, realizing how much they had both changed and grown. "I think you're right. Back then we were young, and maybe we didn't really understand what love meant. We were so focused on the idea of being together that we didn't consider how much work it takes to make a relationship last." Liam reached across the table, gently holding her hand. "I don't want to make that mistake again. I want to be honest, patient, and give this the time it needs. I want to be someone you can truly count on." Emma felt a warmth spread through her. "I feel the same way. I don't want to rush things or lose what we're building." They sat there, hands intertwined, silently agreeing to give each other the time and space they needed to make this work. It was as though they had made a silent promise, a commitment to take things one step at a time and allow their relationship to grow naturally. In the following days, their bond deepened. They went back to some of their favorite spots from high school, revisiting old memories and making new ones. They spent afternoons by the lake, took long drives to explore nearby towns, and even tried cooking together. A messy but laughter-filled experience that left them both with burnt fingers and a kitchen covered in flour. One evening, as they walked through a quiet park, Emma felt the courage to open up about something that had been weighing on her mind. "Liam, there's something I need to tell you. I'm afraid of falling too hard again. I'm scared that if I let myself love you completely, something will happen, and I'll lose you all over again." Liam stopped walking and turned to face her, his expression soft but serious. "Emma, I know we can't predict the future, and I can't promise that nothing will ever go wrong. But I can promise that I'll do everything I can to make this work. I'm here, and I'm not going anywhere. Emma looked into his eyes, seeing the honesty and commitment reflected there. She realized that her fears were rooted in the past, in the heartbreak she had carried with her for so long. But Liam wasn't a part of that pain. He was here, in the present, offering her a chance at something real and lasting. Taking a deep breath, she said, I'll try. I'll try to let go of my fears and just be in the moment with you. Liam smiled, pulling her into a gentle hug. That's all I could ever ask for. As the weeks turned into months, Emma and Liam settled into a rhythm. They built new traditions, spending Friday nights at their favorite diner, going for weekend hikes, and challenging each other in board games on rainy days. The connection between them grew stronger, and Emma began to feel as though her heart was healing piece by piece. But there were still moments of doubt and fear. Sometimes, a song, a place, or a memory would trigger a reminder of the past, and she would feel a pang of anxiety. Yet each time, Liam was there, patient and understanding, reassuring her that he wasn't going anywhere. One night, as they sat on Emma's couch watching an old romantic movie, she felt a surge of emotion she couldn't hold back. Liam, I think I'm ready to really try. To open my heart to this, to us. Liam took her hand, his gaze steady. Emma, I'm ready too. But remember, we don't have to rush. We have all the time in the world. They shared a quiet, lingering kiss, a promise of what was to come. Emma felt a deep sense of peace and joy. She had finally let herself believe in a future with Liam, a future filled with love, trust, and endless possibilities. As they sat there, wrapped in each other's arms, Emma knew that they were building something strong, something that could withstand the test of time. They had both been broken, but together, they were healing and rediscovering the life they had always dreamed of sharing. And for the first time, Emma truly believed that their love could last. Part 6. A New Beginning. The months that followed felt like a dream. Liam and Emma had found something rare and beautiful. They had learned to take things slow, giving each other space to heal and grow. They had rebuilt their friendship, and in doing so, had rediscovered the love they once shared. But this time, it was deeper, more mature, and full of understanding. Every day, they learned more about each other, about their hopes, their fears, and the things that made them happy. It was a journey, and both of them were ready to walk it together. As spring began to turn into summer, Emma found herself standing at a crossroads. She had spent so many years carrying the weight of heartbreak that she hadn't fully realized how much she had changed. She wasn't the same person who had left Liam all those years ago. The past still lingered, but it no longer defined her. She had learned that love, when given the right time and care, could heal even the deepest wounds. One Saturday afternoon, Liam invited Emma to a small park near the lake they had visited on their first road trip together. It had been a place of peace and reflection for both of them, and they had promised to return when the time felt right. Now, months later, they found themselves there again, but this time, it felt different. Liam was holding something small in his hand, As they walked along the path that ran beside the lake, the air warm and soft, he spoke quietly, his voice filled with emotion. Emma, when we first started reconnecting, I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know if we could ever get back to what we once had, or if we were too broken to try again. But now, I see that we were always meant to be here, together in this moment. Emma turned to him, her heart pounding in her chest. She felt a mixture of excitement and nervousness, unsure of what was coming next. Liam, I don't know what the future holds, but I do know that I've never felt more sure of anything than I do about us. We've come so far. We've grown together, healed together. I can't imagine my life without you in it. Liam smiled softly, his eyes reflecting the depth of his feelings. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Emma's breath caught in her throat as he opened it to reveal a simple, elegant ring. Emma, Liam began, his voice trembling slightly, will you marry me? Will you spend the rest of your life with me, building a future together one day at a time? I promise to love you, to support you, and to never let go of what we have. Tears filled Emma's eyes as she gazed at the ring, at the man who had once been her best friend and now the love of her life. She had never imagined this moment would come. But now, with everything they had been through, it felt like the most natural thing in the world. Yes, she whispered, her voice filled with emotion. Yes, I will marry you. I want to spend my life with you. Liam's face lit up with joy as he slid the ring onto her finger. It fit perfectly, just as he had hoped. They hugged each other tightly, laughing and crying together in the warmth of the afternoon sun. It was a moment they would both treasure forever. A moment that marked the beginning of the rest of their lives. Over the next few months, Emma and Liam began to plan their wedding. It was a small ceremony, just close friends and family, but it was perfect for them. They wanted to keep it simple, focused on the love they had for each other and the life they were about to build. As the day of the wedding approached, Emma couldn't help but reflect on everything they had been through. They had both faced heartbreak, disappointment, and fear, but in the end, they had found their way back to each other. They had learned that love wasn't just about the good times. It was about sticking together through the hard times too. It was about being there for each other, no matter what. On their wedding day, Emma stood at the altar, looking into Liam's eyes as he took her hands in his. She saw the same man she had fallen in love with years ago. But now, he was even more. He was her partner, her best friend, her everything. And as they exchanged their vows, she knew that their journey had only just begun. I promise to love you, Liam said, his voice steady and full of emotion, to be your strength when you need it, and your comfort when you're hurting. I'll laugh with you, cry with you, and grow old with you. I'll cherish you always. Emma smiled through her tears, squeezing his hands. I promise to stand by you through all of life's challenges. I promise to love you with all my heart and to never take for granted the life we are building together. With those words, they were married, surrounded by the people who loved them. It was a day of joy, hope, and new beginnings. As they walked down the aisle together, Hand in hand, Emma felt an overwhelming sense of peace. The future was uncertain, as it always is, but she no longer feared it. Together, she and Liam could face anything. Years passed, and Emma and Liam's love only grew stronger. They built a life full of laughter, love, and adventures. There were difficult times, as there are in any marriage, but they always faced them together, supporting each other every step of the way. They often talked about the past, their childhood, their first love, their heartbreaks, but they always came back to one truth. They were exactly where they were meant to be. They had found their way back to each other, and together, they had created a life that was better than they could have ever imagined. And so, the story of Emma and Liam continued. A love story that had withstood the tests of time, distance, and heartache. It was a story of second chances, of healing, of forgiveness, and of finding love in the most unexpected places. Their life together was proof that sometimes the best things in life are worth waiting for. If you enjoyed the story, please like, share, and subscribe for more exciting tales. Check out our other videos and share your thoughts in the comments. Stay tuned for the next adventure. Thanks for watching.